Hi, I'm Cameron, and I will be drawing the United States of America freehand and out of memory. Before I do, please take note of my surroundings. As you can see, there's nobody in the room with me. No maps, no books, no video monitors. The door is closed, so you will hear it open. Should happen. I've got nothing to cheat with. Now let's get started. The trick is knowing where to start. What's the best starting point? It has to be the harder one. Because you get the harder ones out of the way, everything else falls into place. And for me, the starting point is Huntington, West Virginia. Why? Because you have Kentucky, Ohio, and West Virginia all meeting at one point. As I start by having the Ohio River on the West Virginia line come up this way, where it meets Pennsylvania line here, and the Mason-Dixon line here. Doesn't look complicated, but it gets complicated when you have to put in Maryland, which we shall do here. There's Harper's Ferry. There's West Virginia, like so. You also need to get the westernmost point of Virginia in there because it gives perspective for Kentucky. And you can complete Virginia here, moving down the Potomac alongside Maryland until it gets out into the Chesapeake Bay area, and then you have Norfolk and Virginia Beach. And while we're here, let's finish Maryland and the Chesapeake Bay area. As it comes down here, comes up the coast, you see Delaware. Remember, there's part of Virginia at the end of this peninsula. I can also complete Pennsylvania by stretching it up towards Lake Erie and forming the New York line like so. And then we have Jersey, which is really the Delaware River. That's what divides Pennsylvania from Jersey, and it's almost parallel. And you can complete Pennsylvania here. And then you have New York City and Connecticut right there. There's the New York, Massachusetts line. And before I go on to Vermont, let's take care of the Buffalo, Niagara Falls, and Rochester area. That way, I can get a good idea of how much depth I need to get upstate New York. Then I throw in Vermont. Right here is where Lake Champlain is. And that's about how it should look. So, I got the St. Lawrence River dividing Canada and New York right here. I could fill in Connecticut and Rhode Island, and once I do, Massachusetts falls into place, Boston Harbor, and Cape Cod. And before I forget, let me put in Long Island right here. I have forgotten Long Island before. What the heck, I'll just do Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket. Then you have the coast of New Hampshire right here. Yes, New Hampshire does have a coastline. And you got the line with Vermont right here. And I don't know if you know, but Vermont ends with Canada here, but a little bit of New Hampshire sticks a little further to the north where it forms the border with Maine, as we see right here. There you have New England completed. Now, what about Kentucky? Kentucky is a tough one. Tough one because it can be easily lopsided. We have the Ohio River coming up this way. And then you have the Ohio Indiana line, and then the Ohio-Michigan line. And right here would be about where Toledo is. That's where the coastal Lake Erie is. Cleveland, here you have Ohio. Now, to get Indiana, the Kentucky line comes down like this and stretches a little bit more laterally east and west this way before it falls into its border with Illinois. And actually, I think that's my best Kentucky. And with that being said, we could do the Wabash River right here, forming the Illinois-Indiana line. And I don't know if you could tell from here, but there's a little bit, the Indiana-Michigan line looks a little bit more further north. That's on purpose. It is like that. It's a hair more to the north than the Ohio line. But before we get on to my home state of Illinois, we need to complete the American South. I start out here with the Blue Ridge Mountain line between North Carolina and Tennessee. Carolina, that's where Charlotte would be. Carolina coast. Kitty Hawk was right here. In Tennessee, southernmost border is a straight line. No problem there. This is where the Mississippi is. If the Georgia, South Carolina along Chautauqua River would be here, then the Bama-Georgia line would be right about here, and the Bama-Mississippi line will be right about here. You know, gotta get the coast of South Carolina just right to set Georgia up. As the Savannah River comes down this way, curves. You don't want to make Georgia oversized too much because it will affect the way you do Texas and New Mexico later on. There's the Florida-Georgia line, and it comes up a little bit right here before it goes on into Alabama. So you can just do Georgia line there. Florida, you can actually draw alone with Pensacola Bay here, Panama City, down into Tampa Bay, the mouth of the Peace River, and then the coast. Forget the Florida Keys. Now we do Alabama, where we got Mobile Bay, which is bigger than Pensacola Bay, right here. And then you draw the Alabama-Mississippi line like so. Now you get Mississippi, and everything will start to fill in for Texas once you get done with Louisiana. Also, it will be with Arkansas. So you got the Mississippi coast with Biloxi right here. And it curves up once it reaches Louisiana. Back east-west. And there's a little dent along the Mississippi right here to where it meets Louisiana. The Louisiana-Arkansas line would be right about here. You have to have a good perspective of how far east-west you want Louisiana to be. And that's where you want to find Texarkana, the little town on both Texas and Arkansas, and that's pretty much the only conjunction the two states have. We'll start the Oklahoma line right here. Let's finish Louisiana before we move on with Arkansas. Shreveport's right around here, down south, in the river. Let's take care of the Mississippi Delta, where New Orleans is. And that falls into place. And that will set up Texas for later. Oh, I accidentally erased some of the Alabama-Mississippi line. Hands are going to be black after this. Trick here, you gotta know who borders what. And Missouri doesn't indeed border Tennessee with this little inlet right here. Now you got the Missouri-Arkansas line. It goes up vertically, horizontally a little bit. There's where Oklahoma will meet Missouri, right about there. We set up Oklahoma, but we're going to have to come back to that. As we now can do my home state of Illinois. A little dip right here, and a little movement right there. That's where St. Louis is. And then the Mississippi comes back this way and hooks back this way again. Now you have Sweet Home Chicago right here, Illinois. Haven't done Michigan yet. Why? I need to do Wisconsin first. Wisconsin will set up exactly what the scale of what Michigan needs to be. There's the border right there. There's the part of Wisconsin that borders Lake Superior. And the rest of the Mississippi River down here. Now I could do Michigan. Michigan comes up here. You see I reference it with Wisconsin. There's Traverse City right here. There's the northernmost point, the bay, Saginaw. There is Port Huron meeting Sarnia, Canada, the river. There's Detroit, opposite of Windsor. And I must get the Upper Peninsula before I forget, because I have forgotten the Upper Peninsula before. We shouldn't move on to Minnesota yet. We need to finish Missouri as it comes up straight and then meets the Missouri River. There's the Iowa line. Now we have Missouri. Now we have the Kansas-Oklahoma line. I can extend that further later on. I need the Oklahoma Panhandle first so that I can get the scale of Texas just right. Oklahoma is incredibly easy to draw, so is Kansas and most of the other western states. That's why you always start with the east first, because you get the hard stuff out of the way, everything falls into place. There's Kansas right there, everything bad happens in Kansas. And as you see, this is why we needed Georgia to be just right, so that we could get the scale of Texas and New Mexico right. But what I love great about drawing the Rio Grande in Texas is that it just gives Texas its shape. I mean, you can even if it doesn't look right at first, it'll look right once you get done with the Rio Grande border. And you can extend the New Mexico-Colorado line this way. And you can easily slot in New Mexico like so. You got the border with Arizona. You can finish. You could start Colorado now, and I don't necessarily have to. Actually, it might be wiser to start with Nebraska. Curves up this way along the Missouri until it meets the South Dakota line. And it will end right here. Now I have Nebraska. South Dakota meets, gets down here a little bit with Sioux City, Iowa, and Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Let's get the Minnesota-Iowa line here into Wisconsin. Now the Minnesota Lake Superior line. There's International Falls, one of the coldest places in the contiguous 48 United States. And you have the border with Canada here, and the Red River this way, dips in a little bit. And now you can finish the Dakotas, like so. Easy stuff from here on, because everything is squares and rectangles. Here's Colorado. See right there, you get Colorado, you can get Wyoming, you can get Utah. Arizona's not that bad so long as you know you got the Colorado River here near Las Vegas. It doesn't go all the way south, it's this way, this way. You can start the California line right here with Mexico. You might want to finish Nevada and Idaho first. But to finish Idaho, you need to finish Montana. So you start right here, and then it meets the. Actually, that's a little too far east. Montana stretches a little further west. Like right there, yeah. Here's the Continental Divide, dividing Wyoming and Idaho. I I had a professor who thought that Idaho was a conspiracy theory, that there was no Idaho. He changed his mind after he went to a Northern Illinois football game where they played the University of Idaho. He met Idahoans, but until then he didn't believe Idaho existed. That was a conspiracy theory. Now we could do Nevada. Reno, Carson City right here. Straight shooter towards the Arizona line. Then you got California. Now, trick. Reno is supposed to be further west than Los Angeles, despite the fact that Los Angeles is on the coast and Reno is inland. So Los Angeles could be right out here. This is because the coast of California curves up northwestwards. San Francisco Bay Area would be right about here. And you complete the American Pacific Northwest all the way up towards Seattle. Then you finish with the Oregon-Washington line. Looks like I got most everything. Just one more thing I got to do, and that is christen the map with our capital of Washington, D.C. There you have it, United States freehand and out of memory.